What is up, you sexy beasts? Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. I got a bit of sun today, looking a bit pinky there. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Vakey. I'm a photographer, videographer in the functional training space, and I also put out videos here on YouTube on a weekly basis. Now, I said in my last video that I wouldn't talk about this topic again unless there were some major developments. Well, there were some major developments. The New York Times picked up the story and published something about Greg and CrossFit yesterday. I'm not going to go into all the details of the article. I'll put a link in the description so you can go ahead and read that yourself. But basically, the New York Times interviewed 8 former employees of CrossFit HQ and also 4 athletes. According to these dozen interviews, who are all anonymous, they mentioned things like Greg just verbally demeaning women, pulling at their clothes to have a peek at their cleavage, even pointing his phone at them to take photos of their breasts, and when traveling, even suggesting for them to share hotel rooms and things like that. In the article, the spokesperson for Greg suggests that the people that are now speaking out are trying to lessen the brand so they can buy it at a cheaper rate. So there's this conspiracy going on that people are trying to buy CrossFit for cheap, and so they're just bringing out all these allegations now. Then you also have his ex-wife, Lauren, who received $20 million in their divorce settlement, now offering or looking to offer Greg $50 million for the CrossFit company. Now, personally, I would love to see CrossFit sold as soon as possible, but I don't think I'd like to see it sold to someone like Lauren. I don't imagine the culture will change a whole lot with her in there. She says in here about Greg and some of the other people in the company, they are nasty about women and they talk freely in front of them, and it does make my skin crawl, she said, but not always. I think it does need to be said that both Greg and I and our friends have raw senses of humor. There is a lot of that banter that I don't find offensive, but the difference was I was in a position of leadership, so my job didn't depend on how I responded to those remarks, essentially saying that my job was safe and I didn't need to speak out or say anything about it because my job didn't depend on it. So it sounds like her standards and outlook on life are very much on par with Greg's. So fingers crossed she doesn't buy it. Greg's spokesperson mentions in the article that he just wants to retire and homeschool his kids. Doesn't Greg have like 18 kids or something? Anyway, my hope is that with him stepping down as CEO, saying he wants to retire and homeschool his kids, I'm really hoping that he is also of the mindset that he is ready to sell. In fact, I want to make a prediction here. I reckon CrossFit will be sold by the end of October. So we've got July, August, September. Yeah, 3 months to sort things out. Get it sold by end of October. I'm just going to throw that out there. Guys, I've been thinking about this channel and what kind of content I want to put out to the world. And I certainly don't just want to add to the drama for the sake of views. I always want to be someone who brings a solution or some kind of positive message or some takeaway that is not just drama, but actually has something constructive. So thinking about all this, what's happening in our space with CrossFit and Greg, and also looking at one of my favorite comedians, Chris D'Elia, and what's happening with him at the moment, being accused of being a predator, I was thinking, what can I take away from this? What can I learn from this? What can I do different to make sure that my life doesn't end up where these guys have? And I came up with 3 things or 3 mindsets that I want to kind of start implementing to make sure I'm a better person for the long run. And I thought maybe you might find it helpful as well. Number 1 is act now as if you're already there. So what I mean by that is whatever you want to become, let's use me for example, let's say I want to be a YouTube superstar. What does a YouTube superstar do? Let's start doing that now when I've got no followers, no one watching. I know you're watching and I really appreciate you, but you know what I mean. Start doing now while you're little or while you're not where you want to be. Start doing the things that people in the position that you want to be in are doing. So in both Greg and Chris's case, don't wait till you become the CEO of a massive worldwide company or a world-renowned comedian before you decide, I better sort out my professionalism and how I treat women. Sort it out 10, 20 years prior before you get to that position. And that's why, even though I'm just starting out on this YouTube journey, I try and have good lighting, good audio, a good little backdrop. I try and make it as professional as possible. I act like I'm a big channel, even though I'm still a small creator. The second thing I thought of is fix yourself first. You can't help others, you can't fix others, you can't really impact people to the level that you are capable of if you don't sort yourself out, input into yourself, and fix what's broken in here first. Can you imagine the impact that Greg and CrossFit would have had or would have if Greg had some more professionalism, some better communication skills, actually had people around him that could keep him on track and correct him, if he would humble himself and not just be a one-man band? Could you imagine how much more of an impact he could have had? We've heard plenty of times over the last few weeks how CrossFit kind of happened by accident. It's nothing that Greg really did. Obviously, he started the methodology, but then this thing kind of exploded. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he was like super professional, communicated well with the affiliates and his community, if he actually had a good team around him that he were allowed to speak into his life? man, it'll be a different game again. So for myself, I want to make a change. I want to inspire people, but it's kind of prompted me and reminded me that I've got to make sure that I'm healthy. I've got to make sure that I input into myself and to make sure I am in a good space to actually give out. I think my good friend Noah Olson talks about filling your cup over to a point where it starts to spill out, and that spilling out is your influence and the change you make. And so for that to be maximum effectiveness, potentness, wow, what are you saying? There needs to be input and inpouring for it to overflow. And then the third thing I thought of is allow others to speak into your life. So actually surround yourself with people that you trust, that you look up to, and that you can allow to actually correct you and kind of cut you when you need to be cut. And I think in Greg's case, it's a prime example of someone who does not want to hear from anyone else. It's his way or the highway, and this is where it ends up. It ends up in disaster because you don't have anyone that kind of keeps you accountable, keeps you sharp. Iron sharpens iron, as we've all heard, So those are the three things that I thought of: is act now as if you're already there, fix yourself first, and thirdly, allow others to speak into your world. So I hope that helps someone out there. Guys, I'm super excited for this week. I've got 5 phone calls lined up with 5 amazing athletes. So the Storytime series will be launching soon. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate that. It will really help me and the channel out. Other than that, keep roaring love, stay sexy, and I will see you very soon. Bye.